sheet. Let's dive in. You ready to lock in? Ready to rock and roll? That's later. We're doing something different. We told you we're doing something a little different tonight. You lose your mind. So, lose your mind. If you got a Bible, we're going to be in Matthew what? Anybody know where Matthew's at? Matthew 5, almost. Matthew 6, you tried. Matthew 6 tonight, so get there if you don't have it already there. Hey, here's the deal. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about this idea called the rogue life. And what we've been talking about is this idea of what it means to be in like a movement of like people who are fighting against the empire and all the things that the empire is all about and all the things that the world says, right? And we started a couple weeks ago with this passage right here. We started with this passage that says, enter by the narrow gate. For the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. And a couple weeks ago, we said a couple things. One of the things that we said was this. We said that the way of Jesus is one that few people will actually pursue. That's why the passage says, that's why Jesus says, it's going to be difficult. It might not be easy. It might be that few people will actually pursue this way of Jesus. We also said this a couple weeks ago. We said that the way of Jesus leads to life actually. It's not one of those things that it leads to life and it promises to give you all this good stuff and then it doesn't come through on its promises. But the way of Jesus actually leads to life. Jesus comes through on his promises. And the last thing we said a few weeks ago is that the way of Jesus requires us to choose something different. We actually have to make an active choice to do something different. And then last week you heard Ryland's story, which is awesome. I hope that you guys took a lot out of that. I know many of you have started to write your own story, and we're super excited to hear those stories be shared over the next few weeks after Dodgeball Night next week. And last week he taught you this out of the Beatitudes. He said that most of us want this conformable control, and this idea that we're going to control our lives and conform to the rest of the world. And the reality is that Jesus provides us with something that's far better than that. Jesus provides us with this subversive hope, that the hope that Christ gives us, the hope that we have in Jesus, almost flips the tables. It turns things on its head. It makes things upside down, right? And so the idea here is that as we follow after Jesus in this road life, that's what we're going to hold on to. Now, before we get into the message tonight, I want to tell you about something that's coming up that you're going to want to know about. We're going to Chicago this summer with you, middle schoolers. We're going to Chicago this summer. You're going to want to be a part of it. It's happening the dates aren't up there. June 1 through the 6th. I know things. Right at the beginning of June. And the trip meeting is this coming Sunday, right in here after services. So you're going to want to be a part of that. If you are interested in a mission trip, we would love for you to be a part of this. It's going to be an awesome time. There's a whole bunch of folks who have gone on mission trips before you, and lives have literally been changed by it. So I would encourage you that if you've never been on a mission trip before, don't be afraid of it. If you've never been to Chicago before, don't be afraid of it. Just show up to the meeting on Sunday and we'll tell you all about the things we're going to do. Yes, sir? Yeah, we'll tell you the dates because I want to make sure I get them right. We'll tell you the dates at the meeting, so come to the meeting on Sunday. It's going to be great. So that's happening. Hey, I have a question for you. This is a question all night long. What is it that you treasure? What do you treasure? I have a 1977 original album of the soundtrack of Star Wars. On that original album, it does not say Star Wars A New Hope. It does not say Star Wars Episode 4. It does not say Star Wars anything else. It says Star Wars, and it says only Star Wars because when John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra recorded that album at the Abbey Road Studio in London, UK, United Kingdom, you get it, they did not call it anything other than Star Wars. That's all it was known in 1977. When it first came out, it was Star Wars. I love that thing. It was given to me. It's a thing that I treasure. So I asked the question, what do you treasure? If you've ever watched another movie series, which is really, really good, called Lord of the Rings, we have a character in Lord of the Rings. His name is Gollum, right? But Gollum was originally who? Smeagol, right? Smeagol is the original Gollum. And here's what happens. Schmeagol comes along to this ring of power, and it becomes this thing that he starts to describe as what? Anybody know this? My precious, right? Just like in Easter. And here's the thing that he treasures most begins to change him and challenge him and move him in a way. Hey guys, right up here. Thank you. And moves him in such a way that like he transforms into this other being when he has this ring, right? He's a completely different character to the point where the writer gives him an entirely different name. He moves from Schmeagol to Gollum, right? And it's not good, right? So I asked you the question tonight, because it's going to lead us into where we're going to go, is what do you treasure tonight? What do you actually treasure? Here's the thing. Jesus is asking us the same question. You have a Bible in Matthew 6. Jesus says these things in red letters. Again, we're in the Sermon on the Mount, and hopefully some of you have started to take in Matthew 5, 6, and 7 and actually start to like allow it to bake inside your hearts and your minds. But this is what Jesus says in Matthew 6, verses 19. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So the things that Jesus is saying here, I want to make sure it's really, really clear. Because it's really easy for us to hear what Jesus says in these things, and these are commands from the Lord, right? But if we're going to be really honest here, don't go too quick on me because you're losing my timing. I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, these commands that Jesus portrays here, we need to understand something. Sometimes when your mom and dad tell you to do something, or they command you, or someone else who has authority over you commands you to do something, it can feel a certain way, right? It can feel like they're telling you what to do, that it might be like punishing or disciplining you or disciplining you, right? Here's what I want you to understand. If you take nothing else, watch right up here. This is probably the most important thing I'm ever going to say to you. If you learn nothing else tonight, I want you to hear this. Is that the commands of God, God's commands lead to God's best. And God's best for you is far better than your best for you. God's best for you is far better than your best for you. Do you guys need note sheets? Because you're not taking notes. Okay, they need note sheets right up here, up front. Need note sheets. Listen, here's the deal. You learn 30% more when you actually write stuff down. So that's why we're going to start giving you note sheets. So God's commands lead to God's best, right? God's commands lead to God's best. So when He says to you, when Jesus says to you, don't store up treasures on earth. Don't store up treasures where things can be destroyed. Store up treasures in heaven. Store up treasures there. And the reason He does this is because it's for your best. It's for your best that you store up treasures in heaven and don't pay attention to the treasures you have on earth. Why is that? Because of what He says next, right? For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. See, here's the thing. We got to recognize this. This is reality number one on your note sheets tonight. Reality number one on your note sheets tonight is this. Is that what treasures draw our eyes and lure our hearts. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Treasures draw our eyes and lure our hearts. Because the things that we treasure, we pay attention to, right? The things that we treasure, we focus on. The things that we treasure, we reorient our lives around getting to those things. Isn't that fair? You ever played a third-person game and you have to find the treasure on the map? You start to orient yourself based on where the treasure is. And we do this in life too. And this is why Jesus says, listen, where your treasure is, there your heart's going to be as well. Look what He says just after that. And yes, I'm going backwards. Verse 22, verse 22, He says this, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Here's the point. Where your treasure is, you're going to focus on. Your eyes are going to be paying attention to where you want your treasure to be. And so if your treasure is in heaven, if your treasure is actually in heaven, if your treasure is something that you can't see on earth, right? I'm going to tell you this right now. I like my 1977 version of Star Wars. I have never played it before. You know why? I'm afraid to. You know what I'm saying? But here's the deal. If someone came to me and said, hey, Jeff, you're going to lose your salvation, but you're going to be able to keep your 1977 version of Star Wars, I wouldn't have to think about it. I wouldn't even have to think about it, right? Because for me, listen, you can give me the 1977 version of Star Wars. I can meet John Williams, which would be incredible. Like, I don't think you understand. John Williams is the most prolific American composer to write soundtracks in the history of it. I'm nerding out here, and guess what? If I met John Williams, I wouldn't care that you're in the room. If John Williams walked through that door, I'd be done. I'd go see John Williams and hang out with John Williams because he's 92 years old, and he may not make it, okay? So, like, you are, he's not, I'm going to hang out. Like, but here's the deal. If Jesus walked through the door, John Williams can take a pass. I don't treasure that album. I don't treasure John Williams more than I treasure wanting to be in heaven. And can I just tell you this right now? I didn't start that way. I didn't start following Jesus that way. It was a choice. It was a surrender. It was things. I had to change what my eyes were focused on in order to pursue Jesus like that. It takes time. Here's the second reality of tonight. And this is super critical. The second reality is this, is what our eyes pursue, our lives will consume. What our eyes pursue, our lives will consume. What we put our eyes on is what will fill our lives. Can I just say this really quick? If you spend hours and hours and hours just watching Instagram or Snapchat or YouTube, and you never spend time with the Lord, look, I'm for all fun and games, and I'm for a good video, as you can tell by the random videos a week every week, because this one, I couldn't stop laughing in my office, okay? Riley and I are sitting there going, yeah, that's the one, right? Here's the deal. I'm all for having a good time, but I'm also all for things that actually matter. And can I tell you this right now? There is nothing else in the world, the universe, the non-universe, there's nothing else that will ever provide you with the things that you're looking for more than Jesus. Ever. And I'm telling you, I don't care if you're facing like some anxiety about what's going to take place tomorrow, or you're facing some anxiety about what's happening in this room right now. He's the only one who can take those things away. He's the only one who can provide for you the things that you need. He's the only one who can show you what your future is going to be. He's the only one who can provide you with an eternal existence. And so what you put your eyes on, your lives will consume. Can I tell you this right now? The reason that we challenged you to Matthew 5, 6, and 7 is not so we could give you some incentive. We challenge you to Matthew 5, 6, and 7 is because if you put your eyes on these words that Jesus preached and told you about, your life will be different. It will be better because it's for your best. And if your life is consuming that, guess what? You're going somewhere different. Jesus wraps up this part of the Sermon on the Mount with this in verse 24. He says, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Now here's what I need you to understand. This word right here, money, is actually the word mammon. You may want to write that down. That's not in your notes. You may want to write that word down. Mammon. If you start saying, hey, I want to get rid of mammon, you're going to sound smarter than most New Testament scholars, right? You're going to it's like you just got a master's degree. You're welcome. You are welcome. And Blue Letter Bible is welcome too. So here's the thing. This word mammon is very, very simple, okay? It's not just money. Really what mammon is something, anything, really, that we pursue that stops us from fully pursuing Jesus. And what the Lord says is that you can't pursue Jesus and all this other stuff. You can't serve Jesus and want to live your life for Him and all this other stuff. And can I tell you this right now? The reason this word is the way it is because it's not necessarily sinful things. The reason this is this kind of stuff is the stuff that's just off, right? It's the stuff that distracts us from fully grasping Him. It's the stuff that pulls our attention away just a little bit from fully being in tune with Him. And the point is that you can't fully serve Jesus and pursue that stuff as well. So when I was in youth ministry, I just started out, the Chicago Cubs were looking for a public address announcer. Now, I don't even know this, but I do some public address announcing. I have worked a number of events over the course of my career. I started when I was a sophomore in high school. And nowadays, I get the opportunity to announce, well, Saturday, I'm going to be at Norwell at 12, I'm going to be at Bluffton at 5, and then sometime in May, I'm going to be at Purdue when I'm announcing the softball state finals for the IHSA. It's super fun. I love doing it. I have a ton of fun doing that. As a matter of fact, it's really funny. I just met somebody on Sunday who I didn't know they went to the church, but they came up to me and they said, I introduced myself to them because I noticed they were at church, and they said, oh, so you have an announcer's voice and then you have your voice. And I was like, why, yes, I do. Thank you very much for attending Hope Church today, right? And they're like, so here's the long story short. The Chicago Cubs are looking for a public address announcer, and they're doing their auditions through YouTube. And all you have to do is get on there and read a couple scripts, and then submit it, answer a few questions, and then that's your audition, right? And so I had access to a studio, and so I thought, oh, we're going to get this to sound really good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be great. I answer the questions, and then they say, read these reads. And I'm like, now starting at first base for your Chicago Cubs, number 17, Starlin Castro. He didn't play first base, he played second base. But the point was, I recorded this stuff. I got it all prepared. I had a great video. Guys, it was going to kill. It was going to be so good. And I was so proud of this thing. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I'm going to make mom and dad proud. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be great. And I'm going to be the public address announcer at Wrigley Field, the second oldest stadium in Major League Baseball. It's going to be me. It's going to be great. And then right before I hit send on that video, I got this tug in my heart. And I don't know if the Lord was speaking audibly, but I got this sense that if I hit send on that video, I would be pursuing something that isn't sinful. I'd be pursuing something that I'm gifted at. I'd be pursuing something that could be good. I could make a good amount of money doing it. If I do it for a long time, I could be like some of these guys that I know, and I'm not going to nerd out on that yet, because I nerd out on John Williams, so I won't nerd out on Chuck Morgan and all these other guys. But anyway, and the Lord just said, did I call you to be a public address announcer? Or did I call you to be a youth pastor? And in that instant, I'm telling you, I was so confident, guys. I was announcing minor league baseball at the time. I was doing it. And I thought to myself, I can't do this. I cannot hit submit. And so the Lord saved me from pursuing mammon. And so I pursued Jesus. And that's why I'm here today. And I'm not in Chicago. And I'm not announcing professional Major League Baseball, because the Lord called me to do this. And I can't pursue Jesus and do this and pursue mammon and be the public address announcer for the Chicago Cubs. So here's my question tonight. Here's my question for you. My question is this: what is your mammon? Because here's the deal. Sorry, Mac, I'm going to throw you off again. Reality number 3 is this. Some of you are like, I need blanks. Here's your blanks. Ready? Choosing to follow Jesus means surrendering everything else that isn't Jesus. Choosing to follow Jesus means surrendering everything else that isn't Jesus. Guys, I would have killed. Could you imagine? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrigley Field, home of your Chicago Cubs. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would have been great, wouldn't it? And you could have said, no, you couldn't. You could have said, no, you couldn't, because I wouldn't have been here. I would have been a Chicago Cubs announcer, and you'd be like, that guy sounds cool. I wonder if he sounds like that when he talks in real life. But now you know. Congratulations, now you know. Here's my point, though, gang. It wasn't wrong. It just wasn't Jesus. So the question tonight is this. Look right here. What's your mammon? What's your mammon? What's that thing that's not sinful, but it isn't Jesus? What's that thing that if you pursue that, you can't pursue Jesus? What's that thing that distracts you from fully following after the Lord? Because where your treasure is, there your heart is also. So if you're like me and you're like, oh man, this could be great. I could be an NBA star. If pursuing basketball is distracting you from pursuing Jesus, guess what? That's your mammon. If you're really, really good, and you're really, really smart, and pursuing after some of the, listen, you need to get good grades. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, don't hear that? I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. But can I tell you this right now? Watch this. Middle schoolers, look here, look here. If anything is getting in the way of you pursuing Jesus, it's got to go. It's got to go. So the question tonight is, what's your mammon? What's that thing that's in between you pursuing Jesus fully and pursuing something else? I'm going to pray for you. We're going to sing. And then Ron's going to give some instructions as we do some stations tonight to worship. I'm going to pray for you. Father in heaven, thank you so much for who you are. Thank you. Right before I hit submit, you said, I don't think so. So I can be here with these guys tonight. Thank you for the ways that you interrupt our lives in moments like these. And you draw our attention. And you pull us back so that our eyes are set on you so that we get you. And all this other stuff, we get you. Father, help us tonight to put our eyes on you. Help us tonight to put our eyes on the one who provides us with that way that leads us to life, actually. Help us to leave that life that's that road, rebellious life against the whole rest of the world that chooses the narrow path and the narrow door that few people will choose. We want to choose it. So help us, Father, to surrender tonight that mammon, that thing that pulls us away from fully following after you. In Jesus' name.